Mm. Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars, topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
All right, everybody, peace. Welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast show, brought to you by GSMC Sports Network. As you guys know, I'm your host, Sean Cottle, and we've got a wonderful show for you today, guys. We're going to be talking about some news coming out of Houston, or just recapping Dylan Brooks' performance, his first performance with the Houston Rockets in the preseason. We're going to be discussing whether Anthony Davis is going to be shooting more threes this season, and we're also going to be discussing the difference between outcome and performance-based goals. We're going to be touching on that topic slightly. But before we get into any of that, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. And be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, click on the search bar, and typing in GSMC Sports. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. None of this is possible without you guys as fans, so we're so grateful and honored for everything that you do and all the ways that you support us. So with that being said, let's go and get right into it, guys. So, as I was saying, Darvin Ham was recently interviewed during the media day for the Lakers, and actually stated that he wants Anthony Davis to he's doubled down, stating that he wants Anthony Davis to shoot at least 6 threes per game. He stated that he has confidence that Davis can do it, and that he can, expand his game and add that level of dimension to his game, while also diversifying the Lakers' offense as a whole. So it'll be exciting to see that moving forward, because it'll show the growth in Anthony Davis' game, and possibly show that he's taking necessary steps moving forward on showing that he has what it takes mentally and perhaps physically to be the best player on a championship team. And we discussed this in passing about 2 weeks ago, how I stated that Anthony Davis at this point in time, based on what I saw last year, isn't capable of being the best player on a championship team. But perhaps him doing this, adding this dimension to his game, can prove that. It can prove me wrong. But just for context, so Darvin Ham said that he wants Anthony Davis to shoot at least 6 threes a game. Darius Garland and Devin Booker both averaged 6 3-point attempts from 3 last season. And actually the only players in the league to get consistent minutes at the power forward position or center and shoot at least that many threes were Julius Randle and Lauri Markkanen. So, just for context, to show how many threes that would be. To Anthony Davis' credit, though, he has always shot a high field goal percentage throughout his career. So that is something that's positive as well. But that these are things that just to think about. But I think that that Anthony Davis can be a positive impact, and he has the ability to to expand from the three and shoot from the three, and I think it's something that's going to be necessary at some point in order to diversify the Lakers offense now. Because as we stated, LeBron's no longer at a point in his career where he can be the best player in a championship team, only off of age. But athletically, Anthony Davis is poised to be the best player in a championship team, but mentally, does he have what's necessary to do that? That remains to be seen, and that's something we'll have to look into moving forward. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think that's something in the chat room as well? Do you think that AD is capable of being the best player in the championship team? And do you think it's good for Lakers offense to for him to shoot that many threes per game? Let me know what you guys think. Share your thoughts in the chat room. And in our next segment, guys, we're going to be discussing the importance, or the difference, and if there is a difference between performance and outcome-based goals and how to approach each one. So be sure to stick around for that. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back. Alright, welcome back. In case you missed the first segment of our show, we discussed the recent quotes given by Darvin Ham and him stating that he would like Anthony Davis to shoot at least 6 threes per game. And whether that's likely and what that looks like for the Lakers moving forward and the start of the season, and what that means for Anthony Davis and his role on the team. And in this segment, guys, we're just going to be discussing we're actually going to be discussing Dillon Brooks for being ejected in his first game with the Houston Rockets in the preseason. Now, I will say this in his defense. Listen, I watched the game, Rockets game against the Indiana Pacers, I believe it was, and Daniel. So he's coming off, he's playing defense, and Daniel Tice set a ball screen, and Dillon Brooks is hedging off that ball screen, and he clips Tice in the groin area, and that's what led to Brooks' ejection. Now, watching the play, it didn't look like much. Obviously, Tice didn't think it was much because he played on, and there was no response to the hit or anything like that. Guys just kept playing. And watching it in real time, it didn't look intentional. However, when your reputation precedes you, i.e. like a Dillon Brooks thing, you are going to be dealt much more scrutiny than other players, and that is, I wish I could say it wasn't like that, but it is, and that is now something that you have to deal with moving forward, and you have to course correct your reputation and attempt to fix your reputation, because now when you're on defensive end, refs are going to be more likely to call fouls on you because of the reputation that precedes you. Even if your reputation isn't an accurate depiction, even if your reputation isn't an accurate depiction of who you really are at that point in time. So that is something that Dillon Brooks is going to have to be aware of. And honestly, the best way to counteract this and to improve your reputation is to not respond when stuff like this happens. Is to, they call it taking the high road, but not giving dignifying this with your response, continue to move forward, because complaining about this only makes it worse and only solidifies or only enhances your reputation, the image of your reputation that people already have of you. So it's the best way to respond to this is to not respond and not give this your attention. I know it's easier said than done, but it's something that needs to be done. But let me know what you guys think about this right here. And actually, Ime Udoka, head coach of the Houston Rockets, said the same thing about Dillon Brooks, how his reputation precedes him, and it just is what it is. He's going to have to, understand that moving forward and attempt to clean up his reputation on the court, at least. Obviously, this is all strictly just basketball. But other players have had to deal with this. Draymond Green has had to deal with this. Rasheed Wallace had to deal with it. Kevin Garnett, to an extent, had to deal with this. Numerous players has had Ron Artest. Numerous players have had to deal with this, but guys like Artest and Rasheed and KG, they learned to improve the reputation they have with the refs by simply not responding. Especially Rasheed Wallace did an amazing job of that later on in his career. But this would be a test of his professionalism. And I think he will be able to do it. I think Dylan Brooks has to get a bad reputation. We have to remember that this is all defensive player, all defensive first team, man. He shot, I believe, above 30% from 3-point line last year. I think he's a great player. I think he's much better than people perceive him as. I don't know when this perception of him started being an average, below average player. I don't know where that comes from, but let's see, he's got a 4-year, $80 million deal in Houston, so obviously his play speaks for itself. He does something right. But, I'll just leave it right there. But, with that being said, guys, in our next segment, we're going to be discussing the difference between outcome and performance-based goals. So be sure to stick around for all that. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back. Alright, welcome back. In case you missed the first two segments of our show, we discussed the recent quotes given by Darvin Ham of the Los Angeles Lakers, and that he wants AD to shoot at least 6 threes per game this season. And we also discussed Dylan Brooks recently being ejected in his first preseason game as LA Laker, and how his reputation might be perceiving him. And in this segment, guys, we're just going to be discussing the difference, and if there is one, between performance and outcome-based goals. Now, when I say performance versus outcome-based goals, instinctually, I'm thinking about from a basketball perspective or sports perspective. But when you think, when you really sit back and reflect and think about it, this can be approached from all dynamics. This is a concept that can be applied to all aspects, all facets of life, and and first, let me clarify and say, yes, there is a difference between performance and outcome-based goals. And the clear and distinctive difference is performance goals are singular. Performance goals are singular and applied to you specifically as an individual. Outcome-based goals, obviously, anything that's an outcome-based goal is something that is more generalized or more macro in terms of your approach to it, or not your approach, but it's more of a macro concept. And outcome-based goals normally tend to have more variables applied to them, which means you have less control of it. And so we'll use a sports example. So for example, an outcome-based goal could be you want your team to win the conference championship. Now obviously a lot of factors go into winning a conference championship. You know, how good the other teams in the conference are, what your schedule ends up being, injuries, transfers that come into the things like that. And a lot of things play a factor, right? But your performance-based goals are things such as, I want to shoot 45% from the 3-point line. Okay, so that's a performance-based goal. You can get more nuanced with the performance-based goal. Now you can say, okay, is that 45% off the catch, off the dribble? Is that off of pin downs, off threes? Is that just off of kickouts? You know, then you can really get intentional about those performance-based goals. Then you can say, okay, what's my approach to that? How am I going to practice working towards that performance-based goal? And so performance-based goals are goals that you have much more control over, and they're singularly applied to you itself. Outcome-based goals, like we said, winning the conference championship. Yeah, that applies to you, but there's other factors involved. It's more, you know, it's like I said, it's more macro. Performance-based goals are more micro. So it's important to have both, but it's important to discern it and be intentional about grouping. Okay, what's the performance-based goal and what's the outcome-based goal? So outcome-based goals, like we said, we have to understand are things that essentially we really don't have much control over. It's good to have those outcome-based goals, but we have to understand that we really don't have much control over those outcome-based goals in terms of being, you know, winning a conference championship, or, you know, getting drafted number 1 overall, or, you know, being published in 3 different magazines for your art studio. Things like that. Those are things you can't really control, but it's good to have those outcome-based goals. But the important thing is discerning is in this concept is understanding that though performance and outcome-based goals are distinctively different, our response to them, if they're not achieved, needs to be the same. Just how we're always taught that, listen, we can't stress or worry over things we can't control. So over outcome-based goal, if it doesn't come to fruition, we can't stress over it because it's out of our control. Same way we can't stress over a performance-based goal if it's not achieved. So when we're creating goals, we have to create goals that are challenging enough to achieve, but also not strenuous enough to the point where they're unachievable. So unrealistic goals, we call them. You know, something that causes us to get out of our level of comfortability, but doesn't cause us to be either irrational or something along those lines. So however we fail, if we fail in performance or outcome, it's not really failure, it's learning, it's growth. Everything is always growth. And that needs to be our approach, whether it's performance or outcome based. Always look at it as a learning opportunity, a growth moment, despite the outcome. But discerning the difference between performance and outcome based goals allows you to be more intentional in your approach. And if you can be more intentional in your approach, you can be more efficient with the results. And that's why it's important to discern the difference between performance and outcome based goals, because there is a clear, distinct difference between the two. And once we can understand that, then it allows us to be more productive. But the key concept is, as we go along this process, understanding that there's no such thing as failure. Failure is a facade. Everything's learning, everything's growth, everything's progression. And once we approach it from that spirit of abundance and understanding, we realize that everything that really happens in life is for our betterment, especially when we're walking in alignment and we're in purpose, right? And we're doing things the right way. There is no failure, only growth. So that's why it's important. That's why it's important to understand the difference between performance and outcome-based goals. But let me know what you guys think about that. Share your thoughts in the chat room. I'd love to hear all about that. Your guys' comments and what you guys agree or disagree. But in our last segment, guys, we're going to be doing another story time segment. I'm going to be sharing a story from high school, actually, that hopefully sheds light on my thought process and my approach to getting better every day as a basketball player. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. Be right back. Alright, welcome back. In case you missed the first couple segments of our show, we just discussed the recent discussion, or recent quotes given by Darby Hammond in response to him wanting Anthony Davis to shoot more threes this season, as well as Dylan Brooks getting ejected in his first preseason game with the Houston Rockets. And we also discussed the difference between performance and outcome-based goals and the mental approach we should have to each one of them. Now, as we go into our last segment, guys, we're going to be discussing... I'm just going to be sharing story time with you guys. And I want to use this story to paint a picture of how delusional your approach to your goals and your dreams have to be, and how much you have to be willing to sacrifice to get to where you want to get to. And I'll never forget going into my sophomore season, my sophomore year of high school, the Summer Olympics 2012. That was when Team USA had won gold in gymnastics had won gold in the team event, or the team competition. Gabby Douglas had won gold in the all-around, as well as the balance beam, if I'm not mistaken. And Ali Raisman had won gold in the floor routine, and Michaela Maroney had won silver in the uneven bars. So Jordan Weaver was on that team as well as I'm forgetting the last gymnast's name, but if one of you guys know it, you can correct me. But I'll never forget. They were doing an interview with Ali Raisman, and she talked about how she never went to her prom or her homecomings because she had to sacrifice that time to train and go to different events for gymnastics. I'll never forget. First time hearing that, I thought to myself, I had to be willing to make those sacrifices because they were willing to make those sacrifices. It's an athlete thing, approaching from an athlete mindset, doesn't matter the sport. They were willing to make those sacrifices, and look where it got them. I had to be willing to do the same thing. And so I'll never forget my senior year of high school. After our prom, a couple of people from my class, they wanted to go out. They were going out afterwards, out on the town, high schoolers thing. And so they asked me if I could come with them. They wanted me to go with them out after prom. And I told them, nah, I'm good. I don't want to go. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm fine. One, because going out like that wasn't really my thing, but also I just didn't have a desire to go. And so I told them, nah, I'm good, man. Thank you. I'm okay. And they said, no, come on, man, please, you gotta come with us, man, please, come on. And then so they actually followed me. These are good guys, these are good people, but they followed me home. And so they said, come on, you gotta come with us, come on. So they followed me home, and I said, all right, hold on, just wait outside, and I'll ask my mom if I can go. But I have really no intention of going. So I walk inside. My friend's waiting outside still. Mine is like 11 o'clock at night. And so I go upstairs. My mom's sleeping. I tell her that my friends are outside, and they're asking if I can go to prom. And she said, oh, well, you can go if you want. Just you have everything ready. Do you have everything that you're gonna need? She was asking all these questions, and I told her, I was like, Mom, I don't really want to go. I actually want to go to the gym. I just want to go get some shots up. She said, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. And I said, can I just tell them that you said I can't go? I'll never forget. She said, no, don't lie to them. Just do what you feel is best. And if they're your friends, then they'll support that. They'll appreciate that. And I'll never forget that moment right there. That moment made me realize that I should never be afraid, or I should never be uncomfortable with the level of obsession that I have with the game and getting better. So I took her advice, and so I obviously changed clothes and started going and I was walking out of the house. And my friends were still outside, and they said, "Hey, what's going on? Did your mom say you can go?" And I told her, I was like, "Yeah, my mom said I can go, but I don't want to go. I'm actually about to go to the gym right now with my basketball in my hand and my gym bag on my back." And they were receptive to it. They said, "Okay, that's fine." And they said, "Well, so we're still gonna go out." And I said, all right, guys, have fun, be safe." And so they left the house and they went out, and I got on my bike and I went to the gym, and I was there for 2 hours. So I was there from like 11:30 to about 1 o'clock in the morning, just shooting, getting shots up, just being in the gym. And it's moments like that, it's stories like that you reflect on, and makes you realize that it's all worth it in the end. All the sacrifices that you make. But I just wanted to share that story with you guys to let you know that those moments are necessary. Those moments of sacrifice are necessary to get to where you want to get to in life. Sometimes you have to miss out on opportunities like that. But with that being said, guys, that is it for our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful, wonderful pleasure having you guys tune in, and I'm just so grateful for that. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all the latest content that we post daily. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, click on the search bar and typing in GSMC Sports. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. If you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network./tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network./tip. If you haven't already as well, please be sure to check out the other shows on the GSMC Sports Network. The GSMC Baseball Podcast, GSMC College Football Podcast, the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast, and the GSMC NFL Podcast as well. All of our hosts provide great insight on sports that they cover, and it's an honor and privilege to be working alongside some of the best when it comes to sports media personalities. So with that being said, guys, we'll be back again same time tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and until next time, guys, peace.